Well, it finally happened. The Nashville Predators have traded Juuso Parssinen to the Colorado Avalanche. On today's show, we're going to talk about the return, talk about what the deal really means, and what we think Barry Trotz is doing.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, your free Monday through Friday Nashville Predators podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this Monday episode, this return from the holidays episode, giving a shout out to our Locked On Predators insiders and to our everydayers, and also welcoming any first-time listeners to the show. We appreciate your support. We love walking through this crazy Nashville Predators season with y'all. I am Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio, and my friends, I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingen, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
Emma, we are back from a little holiday break, but it's not like the hockey stopped hockeying while we were off. Of course, one of the things we've been watching is Juuso Parssinen's future with the Nashville Predators. That has been decided. He's been traded to the Colorado Avalanche. On today's show, we're going to talk about the return. We're going to talk about what this trade really means, not just for Juuso Parssinen, but for the Nashville Predators in the short term. We're also going to look a little longer term. What is Barry Trotz really up to right now? We're going to dive into all that. Of course, Emma, this is our return back. We took a little bit of a holiday break there. So just checking in. Did you have a great holiday?
I did. It was very low key. Didn't really do much, but yeah, got to get away for a little bit. Most importantly, Minka upper management here, who is currently passed out because she was sedated for the car ride home. Most importantly, she had a great Christmas, and that's really, all we can ask for. She was very spoiled.
Did you get like any one gift that you were like, oh, wow, this is amazing? Anything that you just loved or that stood out to you?
I got an iPad. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. That was
amazing. They're life-changing. They're life-changing.
I had one from years ago that I think it was so old that it won't even update anymore. it can't handle the new operating system. And I didn't ask for one. I had never, but my dad said I got it from my parents, and my dad said he got the idea because one night I sent a picture to my parents, and I was watching, I think the Predators were playing, my Pittsburgh Steelers were playing, and the World Series was going on. And so I had my personal laptop, my work laptop, and my TV set up all in a row. And my dad was like, yeah, I felt like an iPad could have been helpful in that situation. And I was like, you're right, it could. So now I have an iPad.
Gift giving, Dad. I feel a lot like your old iPad. I cannot handle the updates myself anymore.
Honestly,
so
same.
relate. Same. Yeah. One of my favorite gifts this year, not even close to an iPad. My husband gave me socks with his face on them.
Amazing.
Can't unsee them, Emma. I'll wear them to a game. You will not be able to unsee them. So yeah, that was.
We're all about fun footwear here.
We are.
We're big sparkly shoe people. Yeah.
These are going to be something. Just brace yourself.
I also got Wicked socks in my stocking.
The best.
Yes.
The best.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
We'll have to wear our fun socks.
We'll have a sock game, everyone.
Yes.
We'll tweet out pictures of our sock game.
Yes.
Look directly at the Wicked socks, maybe not directly at the husband socks. Of course, lots of other things happened over this break besides Emma and I getting great gifts. One of the things we've been waiting for, and this was one of the questions in our holiday takes from a hat that I scrapped because I'm like, this is a whole episode. And look, here we are, Juuso Parssinen's future with the Nashville Predators. It is over. The Nashville Predators traded Juuso Parssinen to the Colorado Avalanche. In the deal, Colorado gets, of course, Parssinen. They get a 7th round pick, I believe, in 2027. Nashville gets Andre Pavel, a 3rd round pick in 2026. So of course,
I
when
think
some
flip the
flip the
years
numbers.
of the picks. So
Okay,
Colorado gets a 7th round pick in 2026,
26,
and Nashville gets a 3rd round pick in 27.
27. Stuff's coming up.
Yeah.
Stuff's coming up.
They get picks
They get
in
picks
years.
in the
Yeah.
future. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Anytime stuff like this goes down, we always reach out to our buddies at Locked On Avs. We love these guys. You all know, everydayers, you know how much we love our Locked On Avs guys. They were saying Andre Pavel, big body, hard worker. He's somebody who's not going to be afraid to mix it up. He's going to throw a hit. He's got some good offensive abilities. They said, we think this is somebody Nashville might like down the road. 24 years old. He's from Czechia. He played 3 seasons in the NCAA with Minnesota, Minnesota State Mankato. He's played 83 AHL games, regular and postseason with the Colorado Eagles. Odds are this is somebody who's going to head to Milwaukee, and that's kind of where I think we'll end up seeing him right away. I think the thing that you want to focus on is that 3rd round pick that Nashville gets back in 2027. Juuso Parssinen, again, 7th round pick, which is an interesting, I feel like that defines him in a way that maybe isn't accurate, but the truth is he was chosen in the 7th round. When you look at this move, Emma, I mean, can we both just be honest and say you did not have to be the Hardy Boys or Nancy Drew or Scooby-Doo to figure out Juuso Parssinen was on his way out with this team?
Yeah, it was when, not if. And that's not an indictment on, his ability, his skill, anything like that. It's just you get, and we've had this conversation before with, an organization, for whatever reason, a player can fall out of favor in that organization. And that doesn't mean that they're a bad player or they've done anything wrong necessarily. It's just that, hey, the fit's not here.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that a lot of Preds fans are upset because that's something that we've been saying. We've said it a few times this year already, where it's like, well, how often can we keep using this as an excuse? Well, quite frankly, that's the reality of you have a 2nd-year GM. You have a new GM, and he, this is what's going to happen. He, a team is going to clean house. And I don't mean clean house like taking out the trash, but it's just they have Barry Trotz has a vision. He has a specific vision. And Juuso Parssinen, Phil Tomasino, Dante Fabro, go down the list. For whatever reason, they did not fit into that vision. And so best to move on from them, because otherwise they're sitting on your bench and they're not doing anyone any good. So I think, again, like you said, Parssinen, 7th round pick. Obviously, he had fallen to the 7th round in large part due to some injuries that he had in the past. And we've kind of seen those injury problems follow him a little bit to Nashville. And, he, look, 7th round pick. Do you know how few 7th round picks even make it to the NHL? So, I understand. I know that a lot of people were really high on this kid. I'm really high on this kid. I love Juuso Parssinen. I was working for the team at the time that he was called up for his NHL debut, and he had a goal in his first NHL game against the Rangers. It was, it was a kind of exciting meteoric rise for him in that first year. Then of course he got injured, and then it never quite, he never quite reached that same level. So I think with, and understandably, fans of a team tend to, and we're guilty of it too, but we tend to overvalue our own prospects or our own assets. And look, love Juuso Parssinen. I think he's a great kid. I think he's a great player. I think that, I'm happy that he's getting an opportunity. But I think anyone in Nashville, any Nashville fans who are thinking that this is like a massive difference making trade, it's really not. I don't think that Juuso Parssinen was not going to be the key to Nashville's future success. He is also not I'm sorry, he's joining a team with Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon. You really think that Juuso Parssinen is the missing piece? Like, yes, this is our key to the Stanley Cup. No, like he's going to be a depth guy there, which is exactly what he was here. But at least there, he'll probably actually get to play. And so it's better for everyone. And again, 7th round pick, you get a 3rd round pick in return. That's a really good deal for Nashville. Like that's really good value.
Yeah. And that's something that Barry Trotz can do some serious things with, that 3rd round pick. You mentioned, he's going to get some playing time in Colorado, something he did not really have much of. He last played December 10th against Calgary. He's only played 15 of 36 games this season, in 900 regulation minutes of games where he was on the ice. He only played 169 minutes, averaging like 5.5 minutes per game. So he just was not being utilized here. I will say this. I'm really disappointed in this with Juuso Parssinen specifically. But I agree with you. This is the nature of the hockey beast. If you aren't a fit in the vision, and now you have to look at Nashville, you've got a new general manager. You also have a new head coach. And who came in with a very different system and a very different vision. When John Hines came in, John Hines kind of came in and was continuing in a lot of ways, in big picture ways, what Peter Laviolette was doing. So it's not like there was this dramatic, coaching change, mantra, like theory, all of that stuff. Andrew Burnett's is different. Yeah. And so there are going to be, I think, more pivots with where Nashville is at. I love this kid. I love his combination of offensive skill. I love the combination of his physicality, the wisdom with which he uses said physicality.
He does not take dumb penalties. He's quite good at drawing penalties. Like he does a lot of things quietly very well. And again, every team needs guys like that. The problem is Nashville already has quite a few guys like that. Yeah. And so they just really didn't need more. And so it's not saying that he's a bad player or a bad type of player, but Nashville already has too many of that type of player. And it's, I think he's a very responsible player. I think I go back to, you talk about, it was a good point about Andrew Brunette coming in, really just kind of overhauling everything. If you'll recall, Andrew Brunette's first training camp in Nashville, Juuso Parssinen missed almost the entire thing because he was hurt. Yeah. And I think he never quite caught up from that. And I think that hurt him. Good, bad, whatever.
Fair, unfair, Predators. That's just the reality.
I just think that he missed almost that entire training camp due to injury. And he never quite caught up. We saw him get sent back to the AHL last year. He came back up, played in one playoff game with Nashville. But I just think that the whole time it was like he was trying to catch a moving train. And he's at that point now where he's kind of a tweener. Like he's too good for the AHL, but he's not quite, he's not a top 6 NHL player. He's not. Not right now, not saying he can't be or never will be, but like you said, Anne, when we talked about it, who are you kicking out of Nashville's top 6?
Right. Where is he going to go in the top 6? Yeah. Yep. And it'll be interesting to see how Colorado uses him and also to see where his confidence is. That was one of the things I mentioned to the Locked On Avs guys. Like, hey, if this kid can get his confidence back, he eats, sleeps, breathes hockey. You may be able to unlock some potential. He is a diamond in the rough. Coming up, we're going to talk some more about this move in the bigger picture of what Barry Trotz is cooking up. What is he doing with this season and what is he doing long term? Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Rocket Money. Look, if saving money and getting your finances is in order is one of your New Year's resolutions, I want to encourage you to check out Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. One of the coolest features is that subscription tracker. Look, we've all signed up for subscriptions and then forgotten about them, but Rocket Money tracks those down so you can actually see where your money may be going. Plus, with their goals feature, you're able to automatically set aside money for the future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. Again, that is rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, Emma, Juuso Parssinen, again, you really had to know this was coming. I think sort of the thing that made it very, very obvious it was imminent was the recall of Vinny Hinostroza from the AHL. The Predators had been going 11 forwards, 7 defensemen, 2 games back to back. The first game, we were like, they want to get Justin Barron in at game speed with this new system, see where he's at. They opted to do it again against St. Louis while Juuso Parssinen was there in his really cool suit going, hey, over here. And then they recalled Vinny Hinostroza. So you kind of knew that that was like the writing on the wall in Sharpie for Juuso Parssinen. I think when you see moves like this, and there is a fan base reaction. And look, I feel this one. Juuso Parssinen is one of those players that I really have thought all along. This is somebody who's got something. Like this is a diamond in the rough. Like if you can figure out the right way to utilize somebody who has offensive skill and that physicality and that strength and get his confidence back. Like this is somebody who can really do something and we'll see what happens in Colorado with him. But again, like you said, you're getting a 3rd round pick back. That's something that Barry Trotz can do a lot with, whether that is, drafting somebody, whether that is part of a trade. When you look at the big picture of this season, and again, Nashville came back, lost 7-4 to St. Louis Blues. That was a whole thing, y'all. We'll talk about that in the 3rd segment. You might be thinking this season is a wash. We got these great signings on July 1st. Nothing's panning out. We're, 2nd worst team in the league. This is just this year is ridiculous. And I think you have to look at this season through the lens of Barry Trotz. Because even if the Predators don't make the playoffs, and friends, the numbers are small that they could make the play. It's not nothing, but the numbers are small that they could make the playoffs. Barry Trotz still has to use this time wisely because with the veteran signings that he has, he wants to hit the ground running next season. And what he has to do is sort through and see what he has and what he doesn't have. And like you said, earlier in the episode, Emma, you got to figure out what's going to fit and what's not going to fit, and we've seen that, Phil Tomasino, same trajectory, Juuso Parssinen, same trajectory. And that's not that Barry Trotz is bad. That's just what you do with this season. And I think we're going to see some more of this kind of stuff from Barry Trotz this season. I think we're going to see players like Vinny Hinostroza. I think he's going to want to see Joakim Kemell at some point in the NHL. I wouldn't be a bit surprised, y'all, to see Fedor Svechkov back in Nashville. Reed Schaefer is injured. This is a player that they want to get eyes on at some point, depending on what his, time back is. Ozzy Weisblatt, another one we loved in training camp. You've got a slew of defensemen, Stasny, of course, Del Gaizo's back in Milwaukee. That's my face. Ryan Ufko is down there as well. So if you don't know what you have, you really have to check it out. And I think Barry Trotz is going to be doing that this season. And Emma, I don't feel like that's a waste of time.
No, I mean, you have to look at it like, like a relationship, a failed relationship. You have to look at it as a learning experience. It's like it wasn't a waste of time. It was, I learned a lot from this. And
Yes.
but quickly though, I want to hop back to something you said earlier about Juuso Parssinen and how, if he can get in an environment where they can, help unlock his ability, like his ability to use his size and his strength, his physicality, but also like get that scoring touch as well. I want to point out that yes, he needs to be in the right environment with the right coaching for that, but that doesn't mean that Nashville was not the right environment for that. I think it also, so much of it has to do with things that are outside of the player's control, like who else is on the team. When they already have 6 Juuso Parssinens, they don't need another one. And that's the thing. It's like, it doesn't mean that they can't develop him or he can't, it just, sometimes things happen. Fair, unfair. I know a lot of people don't like it. I don't like it. Again, I was with the team. I traveled with him, was working with him during his debut season. I feel like I raised this child from birth. I feel very strongly about this. I love this kid. And like we said, he just wants to hockey. He just wants to hockey.
Just
And
let the boy hockey.
Just let him hockey. And he wasn't going to get to hockey here. So that, again, you have to look at this as, and this is something I've seen a lot when, we're talking about Barry Trotz and the big picture and the trade and things like that. People are upset because Juuso Parssinen did not get they feel that Juuso Parssinen did not get a fair shake in Nashville. He didn't get a chance to play, didn't get a chance to prove himself. People felt similarly about Tomasino, Cody Glass, people like that. And that, that's one conversation that I'm not necessarily disagreeing with. I also think that he should have had more time and more, because he was a guy who played much better when he was in the lineup more consistently.
Yes.
So that is one argument, and that's actually a good argument to make, I think. But we have to separate that from the trade itself. If you look at the trade itself, in the immediate term at the NHL level, this trade is Juuso Parssinen for Vinny Hinostroza. That's what the trade is right now at the NHL level. And you know what? It's not a bad trade, because people like to look at Hinostroza is 30 years old. He's old. First of all, easy. No, back that card up. Yeah. Like, he's old, he's a tweener, he's a veteran, like whatever. Okay. Old does not mean bad. And this is not just like some AHL journeyman. This guy is leading the AHL in scoring right now. And
he's been incredible. He has been incredible for Milwaukee, y'all. If you have not watched Milwaukee, you may not understand why Vinny Hinostroza is where he's at. He's where he's at because he has been incredible.
I actually watched him play in the Beauty League a couple summers ago, and like I've always been impressed by him. So I'm excited to see what he does here. And again, going back to what you said with Barry Trotz, looking at what he has, what he doesn't have. The reality of it is, you have Stamkos and Marchessault and Forsberg and Yossi and those guys. Like, you are not getting rid of those guys, even if you wanted to. Those are your core guys.
Yes.
And UC Saros as well. Put him in there too, but he's less relevant to this conversation. I think that's who you have. You have to work around that. And right now, you have to be honest with it. And we've said this before. Yes, this was not a make or break year. All of these guys are signed beyond this year, but they're not signed forever, and they're not getting any younger. So if you want to maximize what you have right now, if these are the guys that you're building around, you have to get guys who are going to help this team win now. And that doesn't mean win a Stanley Cup this year. It just means get them on the track to that. Juuso Parssinen just kind of became a victim of circumstance, as did Cody Glass, as did Phil Tomasino. Their development trajectory did not align with where the team was in their goals. And that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't mean that they're bad players or they
Yeah.
made the team worse. It just means that this is a team that doesn't have the luxury of time with these young players right now.
Mhm. I
And
agree with that.
if you want to maximize what you have in your core group, because it is who it is, like you are not getting rid of these guys even if you want to, and I don't think you should want to. I mean, there's plenty of reason to be happy about these guys, but I think it's, you don't want a team of all old guys. And like, again,
Thank you.
but
Yep,
you don't want
agreed.
a team of all old guys. I don't even know. Like, I can't even point. I mean, then you kind of end up a little bit like Pittsburgh was kind of looking like that, but then they were able to kind of figure it out and turn it around here recently. But then you don't want a team of all kids, because then you're in a constant rebuild and you're the Montreal Canadiens for like the last
Yes.
5 years, and there is
Yes.
no like real window for contention. So you need to find that right balance. And I think that's what Barry Trotz is doing. He's not systematically getting rid of all of the youth. I mean, you still have Zach LaRue, you still have Luke Evangelista, you still have, the guys you mentioned, Fedor Svechkov. We will see him again. I'm positive of that. There's Mark Del Gaizo, another one. And I just think that when you said we have to look at the season through the lens of Barry Trotz, the reality is Barry Trotz is not looking at this season. He's looking at this season and next season and the season after
Yes.
that and the season after that, because that is his job. And
Yeah.
so I think it's easy to look at things in a vacuum and criticize them in a vacuum. It's human nature, I understand. But in this particular case, if you want to look at this move in a vacuum, it's Juuso Parssinen for Vinny Hinostroza, who's leading the AHL in scoring. Like, in the immediate term, that is not a bad deal.
And I love what you're saying about constructing a roster, because there is this narrative that age equals bad, youth equals good. And you have got to have veterans on your team. You have got to have youth on your team. You have to have both. And so this narrative, the minute that somebody is 6 months older than the player you traded, everybody's like, now you're just getting older, you're the second oldest team in the league. Well, they are the second oldest team in the league right now, but look at what they have coming up. Here's where I would be seriously concerned about this if this were the situation. Barry Trotz has a lot of draft capital, and Barry Trotz has said, I want to swing for the fences with some of these picks. If Barry Trotz was making these kind of decisions with those swing for the fences picks that he has made, then I would be worried. These weren't swing for the fences picks, because that was not the mindset of David Poile in the scouting department right then. This is a different way that he is looking to construct this roster. And when you draft those swing for the fences picks as Barry Trotz, I do believe he is going to invest in them in a way that will be more security than what we saw for Tomasino, than what we saw for Juuso Parssinen, because they are swing for the fences players.
And they're his guys. I mean, I think about this in terms of like college athletics. When a new coach comes in and takes over, it's common knowledge, whether if it's football, basketball, whatever, you give him at least 3 years to decide if he's good or bad or whatever, because you need to get him, when he comes in, he is coaching all guys who were recruited by the guy before him. And now you got to give him a chance to recruit his own guys, build a roster that way. I mean, it's not exactly apples to apples, but it's a similar idea. It's like, see what he can do with his guys. These were not Barry's guys. And it's, there's going to be that sort of period of transition where he sees what he's got and what he needs. And that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, yes, it looks alarming. Yes, I personally am disappointed in some of this, but I think there is a much bigger picture. And we also have to realize that Barry Trotz looks at things not a trade at a time, but at a roster 2 to 3 seasons at a time. And that's why some of these moves are being made. When they are his guys, I don't think you're going to see somebody play 104 games and be cut loose. I just think then we panic.
Yes.
Then we panic.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's totally fair to say this organization, based on history, yes, can't draft and develop forwards. This is more of the same. Blah blah blah. Barry Trotz did not draft Juuso Parssinen or Phil Tomasino or Cody Glass or any of that. Like this, it's not
Dante
fair.
Fabro.
It's
Yeah.
easy to point to one thing and say, because of this, therefore this. And it's like, well, this is just a continuation of the pattern. Well, you know what? There's still some David Poyle left in the organization. And, Barry Trotz is doing what he can with it, but he can't come in and immediately get rid of everything because then you don't have a team. So it's going to happen over time and we're going to see remnants of this. And I like what you said. It's not time to panic because these are not his guys. Wait till we see what he does with his guys. If, 3 years from now, we're having the exact same conversation, like 3 more first round picks have moved on from the organization, first round picks that Barry brought in, like
then we panic.
If 3 years from now, if Tanner Mollendijk and Matthew Wood and someone else are all gone, then yes, let's have the conversation and we can panic.
Yeah. One thing that you observe can be very true. This is disappointing, but it doesn't maybe necessarily speak everything you want. What is the episode in the West Wing? Ad hoc, ergo Proctor Hawk?
Yes.
Is that it? Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. The West Wing. Great show. Look it up.
Show.
Great show. Coming up, we know there's plenty to focus on short term with this Nashville Predators roster as it stands right now. Coming up, we're going to talk about that 7-4 loss to St. Louis. And we're going to look ahead at a challenging game tonight. Friends, if you have big thoughts on what Barry Trotz is doing, if you enjoy recapping game performances, and if you just want to talk about what is coming next for the Nashville Predators, we want to invite you to join our Locked On Predators Insider subtext community. You're going to get a chance to chat with Emma and I beyond the podcast, ask your questions, share your one word to recap a game, and we're going to talk about that breaking news before we hit the record button. We have a really amazing subtext community, and we'd love for you to join us. Details are in the description of this episode or in the link in our bio. All right, Emma, here we are carrying our pre-holiday momentum right into this episode. Nashville Predators did not maybe do that so much. Lost 7-4 to the St. Louis Blues. Really trashy, bad start to the game. Saros gave up 5 goals on 16 shots, but Nick Blankenburg, Mr. Blankenburg, chef's kiss goal. I mean, amazing. We did talk to Andrew Brunette after practice on Saturday about that game, and he just kind of said the mistakes early had the team on their heels. Felt like it was more of a 50-50 game, and I think it was probably a better performance than what the score reflected in there. Upside, Preds are scoring goals, Emma. They've scored 27 goals in their last 8 games. It took them 14 games to score 27 goals before that. So look at us going. You've got Jonathan Marchessault is cooking. Steven Stamkos is cooking. But we're going to need them all cooking because the schedule coming up is a little woof, if we're being honest, Emma. Tonight, the Nashville Predators are playing the best team in the league, the Winnipeg Jets. That is a sentence I did not think I would say in preseason, but here we are, the Winnipeg Jets, best team in the league. They've got Minnesota tomorrow, then Vancouver, Calgary are back-to-back on Friday and Saturday, and then they're going to wrap up this road trip back against the Winnipeg Jets on Tuesday. Then they're going to be home again on the 11th to play Washington. Looking at this Winnipeg Jets game tonight, besides, let's just take some Tums and hope. And look, I know Nashville beat them 4-1 at home, and nobody thought that would happen. But man, this Jets team, they are not cooling off. 7-2-1 in their last 10, again, leading the league in points. There is nothing this Jets team is not doing well, Emma, and I find that a little bit stressful as we preview this game.
As do I. As do I. Yeah, they certainly, we know that they've always had an edge in goal.
Mhm.
And that, but then again, so does Nashville usually. Um, but it's a little bit shaky because we are coming off a very unSaros like
Yeah.
performance from Saros. And I'm not saying that that's any reason to panic because it is one game in what has otherwise been a very strong start for a guy who does not usually have the strongest starts. But I think, it's understandable to feel a little bit shaky after that because that was the last we saw from Saros. And now we're going up against, another elite goaltender in this division in Connor Hellebuyck, presumably. But you look at this and the Predators are also going to be on a back-to-back though again. So we don't know
Right.
if, are they going to go with Saros or are they going to go with Onanen? It really could go either way. But the fact remains, goaltending was always like the one thing that the Predators had that's like that's our advantage, but the problem is Winnipeg has that too. They
Yeah.
also have everything else. And
Everything else right now, y'all.
it's such a complete team. It's such a deep team. And I know it's easy to look and be like, well, hey, we beat them last time. We beat them in Nashville. No one expected that. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we should expect that again. It'd be great if it happens, but like you
It's
need
gonna
to
be tough.
it's going to be tough. And this Predators team in, early this year has not really been able to get into a rhythm on the road. And this is another long stretch of road games, just like we saw in November with that CMA's trip, that you're thinking like, okay, maybe we'll, get them on the road for an extended period of time and they'll figure it out. Well, it didn't really happen last time. So it's they're gonna have to, it's gonna be tough. It is going to be tough, and I know that is not lost on them. But I think that this is a game that it's we did not see the Winnipeg Jets when they played in
Mhm.
Nashville. We did not see the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, they were
Yeah.
there physically, but like they did not look like themselves.
Yeah.
And so I think that maybe, they could have come in. I think the LA Kings did the same thing. Come in. Nashville's become the trap game for people. And you
Mhm.
know what? Like, I know that that's not, it sounds like an insult, but I mean, if that's your advantage, you got to use it.
Yep.
And, come on strong and don't let up. And I mean, I am encouraged by the fact that Nashville has been scoring goals, thankfully, because it looked like for a while they weren't capable of scoring more than two.
Ever.
The
Yes.
problem is against St. Louis, they fell behind 2-0 early and they never were able to overcome that deficit. Now, they did bring it within one goal 4 different times in that game.
Gosh, so much hope. There was
So
hope and then there wasn't.
there's
And then
hope.
yeah.
There's hope. I'm
Yeah.
not saying, guys, they're gonna, now they're gonna go beat Winnipeg 7-4. I'm not saying that. But I
Mhm.
think that you're seeing progress, and there are things that I think this team has learned and can build on, and hopefully they can do it against the Jets.
There is almost a part of me that says one of the advantages for Nashville tonight could be the fact that they had such a terrible start against St. Louis that they will come out and be much more intentional about not putting their goaltender in that situation again. I think that they regret some of the just heinous early mistakes that led to that 2-goal deficit that put Saros in that situation. So hopefully they'll be more intentional. I also think please stay out of the box. I know Nashville has the number 1 penalty kill in the league, but they are without Cole Smith, and he is very important there. And Winnipeg has the top power play unit, so let's just not. Can
Let's
we
just not.
just not? The other thing I would say, get some people in front of the net, especially if it's Connor Hellebuyck. That is a whole lot of goaltender in net. And if you look back at that 4-1 win, like you had screens in front of the net. Marchessault's goal was kind of a rebound score. You've got to get screens. You've got to get quantity of shots. You've got to take advantage of second and third chances, because if it's Connor Hellebuyck, he's just not going to give you the easy. He's not going to give up an easy goal. So this is going to be a challenge tonight for the Nashville Predators, and then they are going to go right to Minnesota tomorrow night to face John Hines and the Minnesota Wild, who also have had a really interesting season. It's going to be something. We're on the road. And of course, Emma and I are going to be back tomorrow. We're going to recap this Winnipeg Jets game. We're going to talk about what the Predators need to improve on ahead of tomorrow night's puck drop in Minnesota against former Nashville Predator head coach John Hines. So make sure you tune in again tomorrow for the show. Emma, before we sign off today, will you let everyone know where they can find you and your work?
You can find me on Twitter at Emma_Lingen, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
And you can find me on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio as well. Friends, that is going to do it for this Monday edition of the Locked On Predators podcast. We thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're going to be back tomorrow with that all new episode and a game recap. You won't want to miss it. We'll see you then.